Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of our local SEO and marketing Q&A session here at Local Marketing Institute. My name is Eric Schoenfeld, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Ben Fisher. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Like Eric said, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Our other co-patriot in crime, Jason Brown, is not able to be here with us today. So Jason, we miss you. We're thinking about you, but want to let you know that Jason won't be joining us. So you've got Ben and me, but you've got 2/3 of an awesome team here on that. That's not too bad.
Damn right.
Want to just let you know that if you do want to get a hold of any of us, if you want to get a hold of Ben, you can find him at steadydemand.com or at the social dude on Twitter. Jason, you can find him at reviewfraud.org or at Kaiser Holiday. And you can find me at localmarketinginstitute.com out there. So hopefully you guys reach out, connect. We'd love to hear from y'all. A couple little bits of housekeeping. As always, if you're not yet part of our Facebook group, Local Marketing Institute Connect, highly encourage you to join in. It keeps continuing to grow. Got some great discussion out there. Matter of fact, latest thread today was local SEO jokes. So there were a couple of good ones out there, like, why do local SEOs look so well rested? Because they really like their naps.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Just saying.
Yeah, dad joke of the day. Also, our podcast is out there. We have all the episodes previous that are up. They're out there. They're available. You can listen to them on your favorite podcasting platform. You can also go back on our website and watch the actual live videos as well, completely open and completely free. So that's it for the housekeeping here. I want to dive in on a few things that are going on here. Let me bring up the screen shares just to show all this. One of the first things that I wanted to bring up is we had someone last week ask about the technical setup that I use. So I don't want to go too deep into this here, but I thought just real briefly I'd share with you guys the technical setup that I'm using. There you go. I took a little picture here. Ben was remarking how neat my office looked, and I said that's just because my wife is amazing and she makes me keep it neat, but that's awesome. So bottom line, little Sony a6100 mirrorless camera tied in, my Mac, of course the requisite Local Marketing Institute Yeti mug down there. Got a Blue Yeti mic and a couple of great light panels and then a sound absorption panel back here just to try to keep it a little bit. So that's the setup. The only thing you're not seeing is my iPhone is typically down here and I'm monitoring the Facebook group. But I was using my iPhone to actually take this photo. So that's why you're not going to see that now. Anyway, that's just it. Thought you might be interested in seeing that. Thanks for asking about that. Trisha, if you need someone to come clean your office, you know what? ask Ben. Ben, I heard, is a great office cleaner.
Yeah, I don't think so. Can your wife come over here, by the way, Eric? I'm just saying.
Actually, she totally digs that. Let's dive into some Q&A here. First of all, Ben, I want to talk about there's some QA showing up in searches on Google My Business now.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. So this was surfaced actually by Ali over at White Spark. We're going to be talking about White Spark a little bit today, by the way.
This is the White Spark session.
The White Spark session. Yes, exactly. Proudly sponsored. Oh, wait, not proudly sponsored.
Oh, wait, no, that's okay.
We'll
give him a little love.
Seriously, good job, Ali. If you're listening to this, which I'm sure you are. You better be. Anyway, no, but seriously, so this is just kind of showing off the importance of some of the features of GMB, really, if you think about it, is that now Q&A is showing up very high on the knowledge panel on mobile if it's related to your search. So if the intent is there and you click on to a listing, then the Q&A is going to show up a little bit higher. Actually, you want to show that in action?
Yeah. Here's a live listing right here. I since she used strawberry picking, I thought, well, I'll try that as well, and it's working.
Excellent. So if you're doing strawberry picking near me, then you go down and you click on Garden Suite. There it is. And those questions and answers, we looked at this right before our session here. If you click on one of those, you'll see that these are actually coming from garden suite. So this is really it comes down to the importance of, you should definitely be seeding your Q&As if you can, because they're going to show up really high. So you get to control the narrative, you get to control your brand, you get to control the message. Don't let your competitors control it for you. And that means that you need to be checking on your Q&A on a regular basis, once a week, especially once this comes out, or actually now that it's out, I should say. So because you could definitely get a negative attack. So that's one thing to think about right there. But yeah, that's it. That's really it about the feature. You still cannot post regularly as the owner. That's still a bug in Google My Business. Brought it up this morning. They're still looking at it and still working on it. You
can't post Q&A regularly.
As the owner.
As the owner.
Yeah, because normally you can seed it. You can go ahead and post a question as the owner. And then you can make an answer as the owner. And good for you, Trisha. Every Monday. Awesome. But yeah, so normally, so you could do the question and the answer as the owner, but control, right? But that's been broken now for about a month, I think. And so yeah. So basically, I mean, you can still do it as an account, obviously, that you have, which is what you probably should be doing. But yeah, wait for the owner tag to come back, basically, I guess is what I'm saying.
So one other little thing that I noticed here, Ben, and we've talked about this before about Google Cloud Vision, right? The image AI.
Yeah.
You'll notice the featured image is pulling up a strawberry.
That's right.
The featured image is pulling up strawberries.
Yep. That's correct.
There could be some, I mean, I'm not saying that is definitely the case here. Maybe that is their top image, but I think it's very interesting that, that's not bringing up a strawberry. So maybe that's showing me, maybe it's not smart enough to know what a strawberry is on that one here.
Well,
but I think it'd be very interesting to see that kind of cloud vision stuff is going to come through even more.
So why not? Let's talk about that really quick. And the only reason I'm talking about that is there's something near and dear to my heart that I'm launching in 2 to 3 weeks that has to do with cloud vision, actually. So you're absolutely correct, actually. So Google does read the images. They read some of the metadata in the images, not EXIF data, not geotag data. But yes, they can absolutely look at what's considered the entities that are related to an image. So this image would show an entity of strawberries, leaves, maybe even salad, possibly. And then it'll show some other types of entities, and then gives you a nice percentage based on how confident it is. It also has the entities have to do with like that image, and if that image is across the web and any other places that can be referenced, etc. And there's labels. You can see all of this through the Vision API, by the way. Well, not entities anymore.
We should dive in. We should do a little primer refresh on Google Cloud Vision again.
Yeah. Once I've launched my tool, we should definitely show it. Yeah. But anyway, it's really amazing how much control you can actually have by using leveraging the Cloud Vision API.
Right. So a couple of quick questions came through that I think are valuable here, Ben. Okay. So we had, first of all, Trisha, I totally agree with you. Check your Q&As at least once a week on that. Some questions are there any notifications for these QAs?
Sometimes. So GMB actually does, believe it or not, try to not flood your inbox with notifications. So sometimes you will get a notification that you have a new question or you have a new answer. It's not it's not consistent at all.
Don't rely on it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you'll get a push notification on mobile, but it's not consistent. So that's why whenever there is an inconsistency like that, then you need to go in and manually check. That's it. Or subscribe to a service like GatherUp, for instance. We'll go ahead and they will send you an email notification, I think, once a day.
Okay. And then another good question came in from Ibrahim, who was asking, where do you find the Q&As? Are they in the GMB dashboard?
You don't find them in the GMB dashboard is the answer to that question.
Because these aren't really supposed to be something that the business owner manages.
Correct.
Or technically.
But Yeah. Anyway, they're just not on the dashboard. They are in the API, however.
Mm-hmm.
So, but realistically, you should be using the, what do you call it? What I call the transparent merchant experience, what Google calls next merchant experience, new merchant experience. Some people call direct edit, but just go basically either on mobile, you can manage them there, or go to, actually, yeah, there you go. Perfect. Excellent. That's what it looks like on mobile. So you can go here and answer. If you see those little three dots in the upper right-hand corner, those can actually,
I'm not logged in.
That's all right. You can flag basically a question and answer, and they will actually disappear really quick. And so, of course, if there is a question, like for instance, when are they open for flower picking? As an owner, you should be answering that question immediately.
You should totally be answering that question. So you should be logged in as the manager of that listing and then responding, because it will say from the owner.
Well, should say from the owner.
I know it's not yet. Yeah, we're having problems.
Yeah. So if it does, fantastic. You're not affected by the bug. But yes, correct. These basically, the way I look at these are leads. And more importantly, it's kind of like when you respond to a review, right? You're responding for the person who's going to read that review. It's the same thing with a question and answer. If somebody's asking a question, are you guys open for picking of berry picking, right? Yeah, look at that. The answer was 9 months ago. So somebody should be going in there and definitely updating this, basically.
And this is one of my little pet peeves about the whole Google local guide thing. Local guides just post crap just to get points. This is a crap answer.
Yeah.
Are your strawberries ready? They almost always have. Sorry.
That's okay. You want to go ahead and show it on desktop real quick?
Yeah, let me show on desktop.
Good for you, Nate. Good for you. All right.
Level 9. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So for Nate's in there. Nate just put in the chat that he's a level 9 local guide. So not all local guides are that way. Anyway, let's go to the Q&A section here.
Might as well tell Nate something that hardly anybody knows. Nate, by the way, when you reach level 10, Google actually manually reviews your account. So hope those edits are all good. Anyway, so, here's what it looks like on desktop. You're welcome. So here's what it looks like on desktop. It's basically just a little bit bigger. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, same thing, just a little bit bigger.
Yeah. One final note, I might as well just say this, is because of this bug, right? Like I had somebody who said to me today, they're like, no, trust me, it's working. I can post as the owner. No, you can't. So if you go in and you do a question as an owner, and normally it would show the answer as, like you said, by owner, and also the question would show if you're looking at it and you're logged in as that account. However, if you're logged out of the account, or if you go into incognito mode, you'll notice that the question is actually not going to show up. Talking about the bug. Okay.
So there you go. There's a little primer on Q&A and why Q&A is becoming more important as it shows up in search. Now, let's clarify this. It is not a ranking factor. It's more of a conversion factor, correct?
That is 1000% correct. The fact that it is so high up on the knowledge panel is a conversion factor. Yes, 100%. Not a ranking factor. Sorry for everybody out there that's like, oh, this is going to get me good ranking. No, it's not. An image will do better for that.
Right. So again, just want to bring that up and clarify, guys. This is good, and it's good to maintain it. You want to maintain it. You want to be mounted in your Q&A. You want to answer it. You may even want to seed it as a business. Again, there's some issues with posting right now that they're trying to work on, but this is not a ranking factor. It's not going to boost you in the listings, but it is a good conversion factor. As people get onto your website, Google's trying to answer more and more the person's direct question about your business.
And Trisha, just so you know, it's not affecting every single listing, by the way. Right. So it's kind of spotty. So you need to QA any ones that you do seeding on.
And one last question came up is, are there any analytics as a business owner about your QA?
No, there's no analytics whatsoever.
No. This is again why I recommend looking at it on a regular basis, at least once a week, because at least if nothing else, you will see the Q&As that are up here and the responses that are coming in, and you can respond to them. So this is something you just kind of have to manually do as the business owner.
Yeah, and if you ever want to have fun with Q&A, just go look at Walmart.
Oh my gosh. Or go look at the people of Walmart's site. It'll be about as informative.
As about as entertaining, yes.
Yeah. Hey, there was one more development here that we wanted to bring up, which again is from our friends over at Whitespark, controlling your reviews in the knowledge panel.
Yeah. So this one's interesting. This
particular post here.
Yeah, this one is interesting. By the way, this has not appeared to be rolled out actually whatsoever. So I've tried to replicate it multiple times. We tried it right beforehand and started looking at it and just to see if it was working on any of our profiles, and it doesn't appear to be. So my thought is that until I hear more, I'm going to say this is an experiment, basically. But historically, Google uses a third-party company to A, calculate your review score, and then B, show which reviews they think are most important on your knowledge panel. Now, one of the problems with this is that we get clients all the time who say, well, I've got a negative review showing as one of the top 3, basically on my KP, and they hate it. Well, if this becomes a real development, then basically it's going to be controlled by what are considered place topics. Those are those little chips that show basically when you go ahead and you click on your profile, and it shows, like words basically. And there you go. Just go ahead and click on all reviews. There you go. There they are. So basically, according to what Ali's observed here is food truck, dog, and patio would be the 3 main reviews that would be sampled from. And so, but for instance, when you click back and you look at the 3 that are on top of this one, you get food truck, but there's other ones that are being shown too, as far as highlighted. So again, this isn't
rolled out everywhere yet.
Yeah. It's an example of how this is not showing it. But if this is the case, this is excellent, because then that means that we now have a little bit of a level of control. And the thing I would say or pose to you is okay, so how do we control this if this becomes reality? And that is that when you are asking people to leave a review, go check out your profile first and see kind of what's being highlighted as the highest place labels, right? And if you're doing that and you're like, you know what, I really want to highlight pizza, right? Or I really want to highlight beer, whatever the case may be, because it's a brewing company. Mm-hmm. Then what you would do is give some kind of a script or an email or something or a text that asks your users, your customers, and says, hey, you know what, if you would mind leaving us a review, talk a little bit about what you ordered today, whether that was a beer or pizza, and talk a little bit about how you feel when you're here, comfy, etc. Right? Yeah. And that way, you're in a sense encouraging, without directly encouraging, people to use keywords in their reviews. And so that's one way you could try to control the narrative.
There you go. By the way, if you're wondering why pineapple is showing up, it's because they have an amazing pineapple pale ale.
Oh, really?
It's actually really good. Really good.
So next time we go to Google Denver, we're going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So a couple of thoughts here again, just to point this out. I think that again, the question is going to come up. Well, are these ranking factors, right? If I were to do breweries near me, these, are these things showing up out here? I think we saw the one on the no, I wouldn't find that here.
It's okay. But I'm going to give you the answer. How's that?
Yeah, give me the answer anyway.
The answer is
see how it's showing up here.
That's a justification.
Right.
Not a ranking factor. Pulls from the same thing though. Reviews, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a ranking factor, but it is a differentiator, is what it is. Okay. So it's good for a conversion factor. In this case, the conversion factor is clicking on your listing, right?
Correct.
And so then once you do that, now having these reviews, if it sticks, but having these reviews show up so high and controlling those also becomes a conversion factor because you're controlling the narrative, the brand story.
So what you're telling, and let me reiterate this here again. What you're telling me is that even though I search for a pale ale near me, the fact that these three are showing has nothing to do with the fact that Google found pale ale in the actual review.
Correct.
Okay. That's important, I think, to note, because I think that there's a lot of people out there who are saying, hey, when you type in a search term near me, you can see it's actually highlighting that search term. Therefore, it's a ranking factor.
Yeah. So what you could do is, if you want to test this, is have somebody leave a review for you. And it's a microbrewery, right?
Yep.
Have somebody leave a review that says you have the best furniture in Denver, or the best chair, and make a model of the chair, right? Whatever. Maybe that one you actually do have. And then wait 72 hours, see if you actually come up for that query. Yep. The answer is going to be no.
Good. Trisha Amy made a good comment that said, I'm seeing reviews moving all over the place, top of the knowledge panel, bottom. None of these changes are noted anywhere. They've been testing a lot recently. I totally agree. You know, Google's constantly testing everything on all the SERPs. I think, though, here's my biggest advice to everyone. Hey, it's good to be aware of some of this stuff that's going on, but at the end of the day, ask yourself, is the change that Google's doing affect what I need to do to manage my business on Google?
Good question.
If it does, if the answer is yes, okay, then pay close attention to it and adapt your processes accordingly. But if it doesn't, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They're going to be constantly changing. To try to keep up with all the changes will drive you insane. At least that's my advice, Ben. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, that's true. And so, like, for instance, just let me give a call out to Amy really directly. So, Amy, my hunch is that actually you're in some kind of a test group because you do spot a lot of stuff before everybody else does. Mm-hmm. And so the way that these updates actually work within GMB is that number one, most updates are most of the tests. Most of the tests are actually going to show up on mobile first, right? That's number one. Just because there's a higher concentration of users and they can get a lot better data from a usability standpoint. And the secondary thing is that when they do an official rollout, this is one of the reasons why some people say, oh, I see it, but another person will pop up and go, well, I don't see it, is because they do a rollout to 1% of users first. Then they do 10%, then they do 20%, then they do 50%, they do 80%, then they do 100% rollout. So when a lot of users are going, me too, me too, me too, that's around the 50, 60, 70% range, basically. Yeah. And that means it's becoming more of an official feature. But the 10 to 50 range, that is basically, there you go, right on, Nate. So anyway, and sometimes you'll see SPEs product experts talk about things. It's because we're whitelisted for a lot of features too. So we get to see things really ahead of time. Some things we can talk about, some things we can't talk about. So anyway, that's how the rollouts work. And that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah. And again, I just want to reiterate, make sure you look at any of these potential changes as, does it change how I should be managing my business listing on Google? If it doesn't really change anything and they're just experimenting with different layouts and places like that, don't worry about it. Be aware, but don't worry about it.
Yep.
We had a good question come in from Trisha on, do we have any thoughts on schema markup for a local service area business? So a service area business. I do have some thoughts on that. We brought this up here. So again, just to lay this out here, for those of you who aren't aware of what schema markup is special code you can put on a web page that identifies to search engines, Google in particular, what that particular page is about. And there is schema data on there for local businesses. So you can say, hey, this page is about a local business. Here are the characteristics of that business: categories, business hours, address, related social media properties, et cetera. And it just kind of helps tie your business together, that Google and other search engines know this website is about a business. But service areas are unique in that service areas don't have an address. They serve a service area. I mean, unless you actually have people come into your business. So there's some people who don't want to list that. Rather than going into all the details of this, because it does get rather technical, I'm going to refer you to one of our good friends, Martha Van Berkel. She is the queen of schema out there. She actually is the CEO of Schema app. She's absolutely amazing. I will put this into the chat here for you. But this is a great guide. Actually, she just modified it a few days ago on how to create schema markup for service area businesses. So she goes through the whole 9 things. She talks about using the provider property, using the areas served, the service outputs, all the service areas on here, the offers, all of this. So this is really good information. And she goes through all the details of how to, what properties you should use and how you should integrate them onto your website. So I'll throw that out there for what that's worth. But I thought that was a great question by Tricia, because oftentimes we don't talk about schema markup on a website for service area businesses. And again, this is just a tactic that just helps search engines relate your overall knowledge knowledge base of your business in Google. What's the official word for that, Ben?
I think you're talking about
knowledge graph,
the knowledge graph and the entity relations, if you want to get deep into it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Google, this is like, so this is what's considered self-selected information, which is being provided by you. So it's a little bit less trustworthy. So right. Google takes that information and corroborates it with multiple trusted sources, basically.
Right.
So make sure your trusted sources also have the same information.
Right. That back to our dad joke of nap consistency.
There you go.
Right. We like our naps. Name, area, phone number. For those of you who don't know what nap means, that's a very, very old local SEO term. Anyway, this schema data on your website isn't necessarily going to move you from page 5 to the top to the 3-pack on Google, but every little bit helps. Ben, I'm going to throw this out as another thought for you here. I'm curious to get your thoughts. I look at local, everybody asks, and we even had a question coming from Jose about, what are the strongest ranking factors for GMB? I'm going to throw this out for you guys here. I don't look at any one thing as a silver bullet. I mean, obviously, the proximity of the person to the business is a huge factor. You can't change that. But I look at local SEO as a lot like I would look at a blizzard. Okay. Bottom line, every little thing you do is like a snowflake. That you do all these little things like schema markup, checking your Q&A, getting your reviews, have a good review strategy, making sure your categories are right, having a good website that has good content that's tied into these things. To me, it's all these little snowflakes that, one snowflake here or there, maybe there's a bigger snowflake and a smaller snowflake, but one snowflake here or there isn't really going to make a big difference. But if you get a bunch of little snowflakes together and all of a sudden you got a blizzard on your right, and that's probably a stupid analogy, but what do you think about that?
Here's an analogy for you: a home, curb appeal. Okay, so you're building a home. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a foundation. Now, your foundation for GMB might be your optimization steps, right? Setting your category, your business name, phone number, etc. Then you're going to put up the walls, insulation, roof, etc. These are all standard things. Right. So those might be things that you consider, like, I'm going to start getting reviews. I'm going to, go ahead and start putting up posts. I'm going to do my Q&A, et cetera. Right. Going to do my description. That's great. But that's not going to set you apart from everybody else that's on your block. So what is going to set you apart from other people on your block? That's going to be the paint, your paint scheme. Right. If you're in Arizona, like me, with 117-degree weather, yikes. Do you have a pool, right? And a pool is something that you set and you put it in and you're done. You just maintain it, right? Unless you're going to get Pebble Tech. Anyway, but if you put up a jacuzzi or a gazebo or something like that, again, you're just kind of putting these things in one time. They're one-time expenses. So now how do we correlate this to Google My Business and answer the question at the same time? Very simple. There are 3 main factors that have basically, it's pretty much locked in stone at this point, that really are going to affect your GMB ranking. And that's going to be the name of your business, unfortunately, but it's true. The categories which you have chosen, which can change a little bit, like if you're seasonal, for instance, like right now you want air conditioning contractor as your primary, and then the reviews help to a point. It's not like if you keep getting hundreds of reviews, if it's going to actually do anything, because it's probably not going to. And then the URL that you're pointing to. And again, that's also a dimming type of signal as well. But the content of your website absolutely will help with ranking. And then there's things like pictures. Again, pictures do help from a ranking standpoint in some ways. So that's why adding pictures on a regular basis is a good idea. It's kind of like, if you want to go ahead and you want to trim your bushes, right? Or trim your tree, etc. These are things that you should be doing kind of on a regular basis, but don't have to do them every single day. But anyway, that's really what's going to help you from a ranking standpoint. If people say, oh, well, you should put keywords in your description, and you should put keywords in posts and questions and answers, and this will help you with ranking. That's just about as useful as geotagging and XF data. I'm just sorry.
Yeah. Jose put in a couple of good thoughts in here. He also mentioned that the name thing, and I was like, yeah, unfortunately, the name thing, the GMB business name is a big ranking factor. Unfortunately, it's also a big source of suspensions. Huge. When it does get spammed. He also put in the fact that the page you link to from your GMB listing seems to have if it's optimized for the right target keywords. I would say it's not just the page you link to from your GMB listing, it's pages on the site in general that are talking about those services. Because I've seen that come up quite often in justifications, for example.
Yeah, it's not only that. It's like I tell the story a lot, but we usually, like when GMB Queries was released a couple of years ago, I did an experiment, and that was just with a couple of clients, and we just added some copy basically to the homepage, linked page, and then we added some copy to other interior pages, and some of them had nothing to do with the business actually at all, just kind of tangential. And the GMB Queries picked it up, and they started ranking for it.
Yep. So. Hey, I was going to maybe jump down the list here a little bit because Jose also talked about a little bit about categories, and you mentioned categories to a degree. We actually had a question come up from Arena about how many categories should I choose for medical spa, and what are the best ones in order to rank well. And Jose mentioned that he uses Plepper Chrome extension. You have another one that you wanted to use, so I thought maybe we could tackle this one real quick.
Oh yeah, I love the Plepper extension. It will aggregate like the top 20 until you express it in a percentage for each one of the categories. So that's the really nice part. But here's a quick and dirty way of doing it. There you go. Okay. You have to sign up. You have to go through their API. It's a pain in the butt.
Oh, you have to go through their API to do all that.
Yeah, okay. But it's okay. It's a good tool. It's a great tool, actually. So, but but basically, why don't we go ahead and show the example that we have?
Let me bring up, let's see here. Where was that example I had?
Oops. Oh, how could you do that?
Well, I know I've got all this. I can't find the example. Where was it?
Keep going back. Hi, there you go. Deja vu.
There we go. This is the one.
Right. Okay. So basically they were asking about med spa, and I did a med spa search near me and came up with this one. And this one was number 1. Okay. So number 1, awesome. Now we're using GMB Spy. The extension is called GMB Spy that we're about to use. The previous one was Plepper. Yeah. So, if you go ahead and click on GMB Spy, boom, there you go. It just extracts all of the categories that this merchant is using. Spa is number 1. But you see with all these categories, they're getting a lot of exposure, basically. Mm-hmm. Whereas, let's do another one real-time search. Just do spa near me search right up there.
Where now?
I'll just do it up the where it says Deja Vu Med Spa.
Oh, okay. Over here. Sorry. Spa near me. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, just do spa near me.
Okay.
All right. So now we're searching from Colorado.
We're searching my local area.
Yep. Click on number 1.
Skip the ads. Go to this one.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm in here.
And now check out their categories.
Okay.
But they only have 3.
But we're in a much less dense population area.
But this is a perfect example It's like if this company or whoever's managing this profile, shame on them, if they if they were using a tool like GMB Spy, then they would go ahead and they could have more category opportunities. Basically, there's no such thing as category dilution. Use it, abuse it, fill them out. Make sure that they are relational to your company.
You see this?
Yeah, that's a new.
That's new.
Yeah,
relatively new.
Well, it's been out for.
I was going to say relatively
3 weeks. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
actually, it's actually stupid handy. It's awesome.
It's really handy, but like if I'm Bliss, I'm like, dang it, they just clicked on my listing, and now you're going to show all these other listings.
Well, what can you do?
Oh, well, okay. So anyway, that's one of the tools that you like is GMB Spy. Plepper is another one, but you said to really get the value out of Plepper, you got to pay for it, right?
No, it's an API. It's free.
Oh, it's an API. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Perfect.
Abram, we were just showing how to check the categories.
I will put this in here as well. Good question from Cameron on the categories. Will you be penalized for too many categories as if they're all relevant to your business?
No.
Period. As long as they're relevant to your business, do it.
Yeah.
I want to throw out one other little thing here. This kind of goes back to Jose's question about what are the top GMB ranking factors. I think it also talks in with the categories, if they're relevant. Guys, and this is really important. It's not just about the ranking. It's about the conversion. It's about that's what we talked about with the Q&A and the reviews and the photos and the descriptions and the right categories. Right? Why would you want to put the wrong categories on your business? Bring someone rank higher and for the wrong customers and have them come in. I mean, that doesn't make sense. I mean, you want to attract the right customers, and then you want them, like Ben said, you want them to look at your listing and go, holy crap, I want to do business with this company. By the way, same thing applies to your website, because a lot of people don't just yes, there's a lot of people coming directly from a listing, directly calling you, directly going to your business. But a lot of people will go and look at your business website as well. And you better make sure it's something that people want to see and want to convert with. So I will throw that out.
1000%. Amy, by the way, Amy just brought up there's another extension out there. I think it's a little bit overkill for your average merchant. For agencies, awesome, and that's GMB everywhere. Like I believe it'll show you the categories that somebody's using, but it'll also do like a kind of like a slimmed down audit, basically, of a GMB profile. I mean, if you want to add it to Chrome and go click on one of those there you go. See how it looks down there at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't want to add more extensions.
Yeah. So anyway, I know, right? So, but that's a pretty good one too. It's okay. I mean, these tools are getting developed, so they're neat. They're nice.
Great. So let me close that one out. Let's go to a couple of other quick questions here. Here's one I'd like to tackle. This is from Ronaldo. It's how do I optimize my business for Apple Maps? Last week, you guys talked about a study that says around 100 million US adults use Apple Maps. I want to make sure my business is listed in Apple Maps and I've optimized it as much as I can. What do you recommend? So we talked about whose post was that last week? Who had the Apple Maps? Was that Andrew Shotland?
God, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew Shotland. But anyway, they did for a variety of things. It was basically estimated anywhere from 75 to 100 million US adults actually use Apple Maps, not necessarily Google Maps. So that Apple Maps is actually a big deal. I wanted to throw out there for you guys. I'll put this in the chat if you want to look at it. We actually did a whole session on this, on how to claim and optimize your Apple Maps listing. It's really not that difficult. But bottom line, you want to go to mapsconnect.apple.com. And this is where you manage your Apple Maps listing. I will tell you right now, be prepared to be underwhelmed compared to other listing management things that are out there. It's going to make me sign in again. All right, I'll go through the process. Number one, there's not multiple users on this. So you have to have an Apple account. I typically recommend the Apple account for the business itself. rather than necessarily, I got two-factor authentication, rather than necessarily your own, but then you have access to that. So again, when we've done this, we typically say we'll set up a unique Apple account for that business that is to be used for Apple Maps. There's challenges around that as well. Anyway, once I'm in, this is for local marketing institute. I just set one up here. You can't do service area businesses on Apple Maps. That they don't have that concept. So I did put in a pin, and yes, Ben, I am using a PMB.
It's okay.
But Apple Maps doesn't
care. For Apple, who cares?
Apple doesn't care on that. So I'm using my PO box for that. On Google, I'm a service area business again because I serve the local area.
At least you're not in the KFC. I'm just saying.
Right. So a couple other things I want to bring out with you here. This is really all you can control. I mean, hey, it's great that they say, do you accept Apple Pay? I mean, big fat whooping hairy deal. But statuses on this stuff, temporarily closed. They actually added that one with COVID.
Quick question for you, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Did they make you verify your address?
They do make you verify.
Okay. Is it automated, or did they send postcards? What do they do?
They will typically go through, well, I'm glad you asked, because there is actually a very extensive help section, he said sarcastically. This is the help area on here, and it talks about the whole verification process. They will typically go use telephone verification.
Oh my. Okay.
So use telephone verification on that. And it does help if your website, if your email address that you used to create the Apple ID account matches the business website. And again, it will be reviewed and verified on this, but there you go. That's the whole issue with that one. Your location, typical basic stuff, just set up your locations on here. And then, don't do this to me. Don't make me log in again. There we go. And then you set your hours. No concept of holiday hours at all. You have to go in and manually change and update them if you think about it here. And then web links. So again, I got website, Yelp, Facebook, Twitter, and if you have an app, because why? Because they're Apple. They're all about the apps.
Of course.
Right? I'm surprised they don't have an Apple podcast link in here. I always found it interesting, when I first was doing this, I was like, why are they doing Yelp? Why are they doing Yelp? Why are they interested in your Yelp listing? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because Apple Maps has a relationship with Yelp. So if you want to truly optimize your business, guess what? On Apple Maps, there is no concept of reviews. There's no concept of business photos. They don't manage any of those. Yet. Your photos are actually pulled from your Yelp listing. Photos currently come from Yelp. Please update your business photo on Yelp. Let me give you a little piece of advice on that. You don't control your photos on Yelp unless you buy their branding package, which is basically about $1 a day. You'd have to spend around $365, around $360 a year. And then you can do the branding package and you can choose which photo goes up. That is frankly the only, hey, if you want to evaluate ad options, but that's the one ad option I may recommend that businesses use on Yelp is the branding package that lets you to control the featured image on Yelp. This is
great for Yelp.
It's great for Yelp, but also Yelp syndicates those images out to a lot of other places, including Apple Maps. Its relationship with Apple Maps is the one reason why I would recommend you consider using buying the branding package on Yelp for whatever that's worth. Heather says, so that's US. What about Canada? Yelp isn't as big here. Honestly, Heather, I wish I could tell you. I focus primarily on the United States. This is their general help. So I think they are still pulling from Yelp. So I'm not positive about that. And again, this is they'll ask for certain information, but reviews, I will tell you, are actually pulled. Last I checked it, I saw reviews being pulled from, where's my reviews? From, let's see.
Yelp and TripAdvisor.
Yelp and TripAdvisor.
Yep. So again, Yelp.
Again, Yelp. So honestly, one of the things that we'll talk about is Yelp is still an important listing, even if Yelp, again, I'm talking United States, even if Yelp isn't a big thing in your market or your area, Yelp is still an important listing because its reviews and its photos are actually syndicated to Google. By the way, last I checked, they also did syndicate some of this to Bing and other places.
Yeah. So the only caveat I would put to that is that, Apple's making a larger push into Maps right now too, right?
Apple's making a huge push.
So basically, I mean, I don't know if I don't have a crystal ball or anything like that, but if I was a product manager over at Apple, I'd be like, why are we relying on Yelp? When does our agreement expire? They're making $365 a year for adding images. Why aren't we taking a piece of that pie?
They're investing heavily. Apple's right now investing heavily in the user experience, the end user experience on Apple Maps. What they've shown, not much. I haven't seen hardly anything at all on this. Is the business interface with Apple Maps and improving the business profiles. I see very, very little movement on that front. So bottom line, this hasn't changed in a couple of years out here. The only change was the place is temporarily closed. That's the only change that I've really seen out here on this. So bottom line, this is a very simple thing, but definitely claim it, optimize it as much as you can, and then make sure that you are optimizing your Yelp listing and or your TripAdvisor listing if that's where reviews are coming from. So there you go. That's my thought. This is the whole help. Yay. It's like completely worthless. They do have the ability to contact them. I will tell you, you think getting responses back from Google support is tough? Try to get a response back from Apple Maps Connect support. It's very, very, very slow. Anyway, I mean, Nate seems restrictive as they're intended, as they're limited to Apple devices, nothing for Android. Yeah, I 100% agree. But you know what? These Apple devices are big, especially in the US, and with 75 to 100 million people using Apple Maps, it's important. It's important. It also powers Siri, and it also powers a lot of the cars that have the Apple Car Kit embedded in them. So you agree you're secretly anti-Apple? Yeah, I totally agree.
Me too.
I will admit I am invested in the Apple architecture right now, and I just don't have the brain power to want to change that.
And that's how they keep you, Eric.
It is.
They just keep you down, man.
I've got my mom, my mother-in-law is up and running though. She's got a Chromecast. She's got a notebook and a Samsung phone.
Now you got to get a Nest Hub.
Nest Hub, where I do all that stuff. Anyway, there you go.
$100.
That's the one thing. I want to take a couple of the other questions that have come in through here. And here's another great one from Jose. It says, hey, any insight on this? I'm managing local businesses in Amarillo. They have 2 locations. One office is old, one is new. Right now, only the old office is showing up in the Google My Business panel on the right side of the SERP.
Yeah.
How can I get both offices to show up? Any ideas?
The only "it depends" portion of this meme. It depends. So this
is Ben's favorite meme right now.
No, not my favorite, but it's a good one though. But yeah, the only "it depends" factor is distance. So if the new location is say 10 miles away or 5 miles away from the old location, then you're still going to only get the one, right? Also, there's population. There's a lot of different factors, I guess, is my point. Now, if the listings are like a couple blocks away or like, a mile away or something like that, now you're dealing with time. And that's this kind of mystery, like sandbox, basically with a new Google My Business listing. I've seen it actually anywhere from 3 to 6 months. There's not much you can do about that. If that's the case, then within about 3 to 6 months, now you'll end up getting usually a 2-pack. That's if you are constantly updating, optimizing, and doing all of your SEO type of activities, making sure you're getting out there into local citations, things like that, all of that, links, etc., for the new listing. So if you're doing that and it's still not triggering after 3 to 6 months, then I don't know, then you get a different issue.
There you go. I like the it depends. Ben, this is one I want to throw out to you, man.
All right.
There's a reason I want to throw this one out to you. Let me get this up real quick, and there's another meme I think for this one here. Okay, this one was from Josh. Says, I have a site and Google My Business listing, but Google wants something showing that it's deserving of its page. I think he means listing. Yes. Maybe an address concern. I'm not sure. What's the minimum requirement to satisfy Google that I can get a Google My Business listing? Do I need to set up an LLC or something? And he gave the URL to the site. Now, I don't want to use this to necessarily do anything, but this is the site.
Yeah.
So tell me your reactions to that.
All right. So number one, this is an online only type of business. This is not eligible for Google My Business at all. Zero, zilch, nada. So that being said, I'm sorry, my friend, you are SOL. Nothing that you do will get you a Google My Business profile for this website. It doesn't comply with the guidelines, whatsoever. So that's number one. I've seen like companies like, and Jason hunted this one down. Actually, I think it was a lawn company. And what they did was they just aggregated leads. Basically, it was an online system, aggregated leads, which usually is what you do in business loans, right? And they set up, and they were able to set up quite a few lead listings. Basically, they all got nuked. As a matter of fact, I believe the company got blacklisted completely. So, which is what should happen in this case, right? Because if somebody's abusing the system. So I'm glad you're asking. I wouldn't try it anymore, by the way, if I were you. So, and not to mention, when you do such a thing, yes, you can trigger the meme. When you do some of these things and you do try to game the system, you are an immediate target by people who do spam hunting in their industry. And if they've got a client who does business loans, they're coming after you as soon as they see you. So yeah, I would encourage you to not try to game the system. And unfortunately, you're not in my business. You don't qualify.
Bottom line, guys, Google My Business is for local businesses who serve a local clientele face-to-face. It's not for online only businesses who are doing that, not really for manufacturers who go through distribution channels per se, not for any of that kind of stuff. Not saying that hey, look, it's okay. I think it's a perfectly legitimate question, but this is why you're not getting approval for a Google My Business listing. I highly recommend don't go out and try to create a network of fake Google My Business listings across the U.S. because indeed, if anyone does do that, they will be next. They are going to be targeted, and it is a major crackdown on that. And if you see any of those out there, make sure let us know. Let us know. Ben and Jason are experts at this. And as a matter of fact, one of the biggest things we recommend doing is looking in your own market and your own searches and seeing if there's spam or fake listings above you and getting those removed. Yep. So for whatever that's worth, I will throw that out there.
I can tell you that it's one of the easiest wins in local SEO. Besides optimization and managing your TMB properly, and doing your standard SEO tactics, spam fighting. Our clients, we clean up thousands of listings a month for our clients. And, it's like when we hit like 60% of a list or something like that, our clients call us up and they're just like, oh my God, what happened? Like, what do you mean? What happened? They're like, we just got like 300% new business overnight.
100%.
That's why.
Yep. I think Nate agrees with us too. Hey, it's a great strategy. when especially when you do fake listings like that.
Yep.
There's a couple other questions here that I'm going to put on hold for next week because we're running out of time here. There's a great question on call tracking for different citations, and one talking about beacons, use of beacons for in-store shoppers. So those are great questions. I think we're going to leave for next week. But we are out of time for today. Ben, thanks so much for joining me, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Yeah,
we have an amazing audience today.
Love the input. Great questions. And Jason, we missed you, my friend, and hopefully we'll see you next week. But we will definitely see you guys next week. Make sure to sign up, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great weekend, all.